question. I texted you guys, and I know you saw this shot. I think Rory on Friday, when he was trunk slamming, hit the worst golf shot I've ever seen by him. Yeah. And maybe a pro in the last 10 years. Believe it was on 11, a par 4, and he blasted this thing into downtown Orangeville. Like, they had they called in the FBI to find this guy's ball and still couldn't, and he had to take one of the worst drops I've ever seen. It was crazy. The CIS,
the Mounties,
yeah, Canadian Investigative Services. They couldn't find this guy's ball. What do you attribute that to? Because, like,
new driver,
and that's where I was hoping Doig would.
Sorry.
What's the deal with this driver? What's the deal with this?
He hasn't found a driver that he likes, and there's two clubs that you absolutely have to dial in, and that's your putter and your driver. And when his driver got caught for not conforming, he has not yet been able to find a head that matches with the shaft that he's been using to get him to drive it well. He said he's using a new driver again this week, completely new. So it's hard to say what that'll bring. But, and it could be something as simple. Look at when I test drivers, and whether it's a Titleist or a Callaway or TaylorMade or whatever, the one I'm hitting, if I'm hitting it really, really well, that's the one I want. But typically what they want to do, that's a demo. They want to order me the same specs and the same driver, but they never ever show up the same. You never hit them the same. There might be the gram weight of the shaft might be out by 3 grams, or the head might be out by 5 grams or whatever. And that makes a difference. So if I can, when I'm testing the driver and I love the driver and fall in love with it, I want that driver. I don't want another one ordered for me. And that's what I think Rory's going through right now, is he's got a driver that he loves, but they can't match it.
I'm confused as to, and like, look, I understand, like, he's a TaylorMade guy. He's I don't understand how something like this is occurring right now and why he would get away from the driver that he was using at the Masters and at the Players Championship and at Pebble, events that he was crushing. The driver he was using
to the rules.
Correct. Yeah, a bunch of players got.
Yeah. So every week,
what did they do? Did they change something, Ian?
Yeah. No, every week, 35 players get picked randomly to have their drivers tested, and they put it in a machine that tests it. But what happens is the tolerances on the spring effect in the face of the driver is so tight to what the regulations are, that once a player, say, use that same driver for 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks, hitting ball after ball after ball on the range, that tolerance disappears, and then it becomes non-conforming. This face springs more than it should, and that makes it illegal. So he got tested with the driver that he had used at the Masters, but I don't know if he was tested at the Masters or right before it, but when he started with that driver, it conformed. But after the Masters at the PGA, it didn't conform anymore, so he had to get a new driver. And so
how come there was a whole bunch of guys though? Did they change any rules about the sprint? No, okay, because there was a bunch of guys that in the last month.
Scotty Scheffler had one that didn't conform. Rory had one that didn't conform.
Yeah, right. I think Shane Lowry did too.
Exactly.
He ain't trying.
Well, that's I don't know about that. If it's not broke, don't fix it until someone tells you have to.
Right.
So essentially, like, it's just wear and tear on the face.
Yeah.
And eventually, it becomes like an old shoe, and you got to get a new one that complies within the rules.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. I'm just surprised though that the last couple of weeks where he's acknowledged that he's been having these issues, that he hasn't been able to get in a lab somewhere and dial this thing in. Like Rory.
He's tried.
I'm sure he is. And I'm just surprised that it's not, coming down. And we're talking about, millimeters of exactness. And I know it's a science here, but like Rory, like his whole thing is the big stick. And the big stick was letting him down at the Canadian Open, man.
I think his driver let him down, but I also think a little bit that his mind let him down. Because if you go back and look at his press conference,
look what he was doing.
I told you guys.
But you look at his press conference on
exactly what
Wednesday,
I said was going to happen.
He didn't like the golf course right off the bat. He didn't like it. He said, "Oh, these fairways are wide and forgiving, and you can basically hit it anywhere." And then he did hit it anywhere, but the fairway. So
he's got his Grand Slam. He's just packing it in.
I think he'll be back. I think he'll be fine.